Hey, this is Mr. S here, and today we're doing Lesson 5. Is there a disease that affected the buffalo population? And our objective for today is to develop and use a model to explain how the elimination of a disease affected the buffalo population in the Serengeti. And we're going to do that by doing a reading, either by reading it or listening to me read it, and going from there. Last class, as a review, we explored the relationship between the lion population and the buffalo population. That was lesson 4. And you should be tracking all of this on your incremental modeling tracker, right? So, for the warm-up, go ahead and let me know what stands out to you about last time and what were you wondering about at the end. That's number 1 and 2 in your student activity sheet. So make sure you have the student activity sheet out because we're going to be using that a lot today. So and keep that in your notes, okay? So number 1 and 2 in there. All right. So when your family or family member gets sick, where do you think they caught the illness? Does anyone else get the same illness, and how do you think it spread? Do you think animals get sick like humans do? I want you to go ahead and think about this and answer it in number 3 and on the slide here. Okay, so now that you've finished those first reflection questions, you're going to go back to Schoology, and right under this video you will find the article for the New York Times article. And you can either read it on your own and take your time reading it, or you can follow along as I read it and listen and pause the video to keep track of what you're reading. So what we're really going to be thinking about is what connections do you draw between the text, what you're hearing or reading, and your own life? Connections. Concepts. What concepts or ideas do you think are important and worth holding on to from the text? So what are some important ideas relevant to our investigation? What are ideas, positions, or assumptions you want to challenge or argue? And what changes in attitudes or thinking do you have while you're reading the text? So you use this to jot down your ideas as you're going through, and this is a system you can do with any kind of reading you're doing. So, as you're reading this article, you're thinking about it in a timeline, okay? So it's really important to, as you're listening to it, think about the important dates, okay? Because we're going to be looking at, in the next lesson, the population of buffalo over this time period, 1960 to 1975, as well as wildebeests. And so we really need to think about what was happening over the history of the buffalo. So you're going to be creating a timeline here. And I'll be looking at that before you move on to the next lesson. Okay, so I really want you to draw the timeline for number 6 and compare it with your classmates, okay? So really think about what your classmates had come up with and try to compare them. And so kind of think about what are some of the key happenings on the timeline that could explain the changes in the buffalo's population. We know that diseases can spread from species to species. So how might looking at rinderpest help us figure out what's going on with the buffalo population? And remember, we're thinking about 1960 to 1975. So what can you determine happened to the buffalo based on the article? And what predictions do you think could you make after 1975? So compare with your classmate, and then also start thinking about a model. Okay, so in the model, this is just kind of a very rough idea, but you'll have your important facts, tie them to what events, you're brainstorming the ideas. And so this is a model to generate of how elimination of rinderpest in the Serengeti affected the buffalo population. So be sure to include how the cattle and the buffalo are involved and all the relevant and accurate scientific facts that you can get from the article. Okay, and you're going to be drawing this with pencil, so it'll be a lot neater than mine. The dates, any questions you have, you're going to draw this all out. And before you move on, I want to see this part. Okay, so make sure you come up and show it to me. And then you're going to just finish up by thinking about what do we still need to figure out about the populations, and what ideas did we come up for that we should investigate in our next lesson. I'm going to ask you a question at the end of this video to test your knowledge, and depending on your answer, we're going to review more together before you move on to the next lesson. So good luck. Work with your classmates. Compare your models and your timelines. Make sure you have it straight, and make sure you're thinking about that time date of 1960 through 1975. What happened? All right, good luck.